I get is a bunch of guys talking a bunch of crap about women. I'm like, for real? She's like, yeah. And we've come to the basis that social media and media altogether is now starting to trying to send information to us to create that rift in the connection that we should have, you know what I'm saying? Especially between black men and black women, because that was one of the bigger things. And it was funny that's the only thing we saw, because we followed a lot of the same things, but we were getting completely different videos, and it was exactly the opposite. I was getting nothing but women talking crap about men, and she was getting nothing but men talking crap about women. And had we not sat there and said, yo, you know what's really weird, we would have never known. I feel like all the bad things that happen is because you'll see something on the internet. You're right, you do have your conceptions, your preconceived conceptions of them, often looking at their pictures and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, a picture doesn't really tell you much about somebody, you know? I might have a bunch of pictures of me with my shirt off, and it might be just because, you know, I'm trying to show my journey to start packing muscle on. You might see and say, oh, look at this guy just trying to show off for all these women out here. You know, so I will say, me personally, I prefer the back in the day. You meet them in a bar or on the street and just talk and see where it goes.
Well, you know, you talk about that, and that's back to the first question that you asked: how do we come up with this? You know, what people don't realize, or what they confuse, is dating / relationships. To a lot of people, that word is interchangeable. And what we're trying to tell them is dating is very separate, very different than a relationship. And, you know, you need to know how to date. You should know how to date. You should have more knowledge about dating. Especially in these days and times, it's very different than when we were younger. You know, you boy meet girl and you go to a movie. It's a lot different. You know, the stakes are higher. Time is money and things like that. So, you know, you need to be efficient and know what's happening. You can find yourselves into a lot of problems when you get into a relationship if you don't date properly and gather the information and vet the information.
You know, it's funny you speak on dating. I had a conversation. I have a lot of conversations, believe it or not. But I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and we had this whole thing because I'd seen on I think TikTok or some shit, something where they were saying that, hey, you know, when you're dating somebody, you're just dating them. There is no commitment to them, so you can go out and date 3, 4, 5 people at the same time. And I don't know, I that's not for me, man. I feel like if me and you are talking, then I need to have your full attention. Because if I'm competing with anyone else, then you're already looking for a flaw or a reason to go with the other person, you know? Like I could never be one of the people where I'm dating you and you're dating 2, 3, or going out on dates with 2, 3 other guys. Nah, if we're talking, you focus on me, and when we're done, you can do whatever you would like, you know. But as far as I'm concerned, that would, if you get into a relationship, that's already starting the relationship on a very distrustful, you know, manner, in my personal opinion.
Okay. So back to the other question I had asked, how do you guys feel about blind dating? Like, is that still even a thing nowadays?
You talk about blind dating, and I'm actually going on a podcast to do a blind date.
Oh.
Not exactly sure, but it's coming within the next couple of weeks or so. And I'm doing it for the experience and just to see what it's like. But it would be typically not something that I would do. No.
I think blind dating gives you the opportunity to date someone that you would normally not date. So when you don't have that preconception of the person, you don't know what they look like. It forces you to step outside of your comfort zone and meet a complete stranger without knowing anything about them. I think that's a great opportunity to step outside of your comfort zone. Might be the love of your life if you try it that way.
So I guess that brings me to another question: is what questions should you avoid asking, like while you're on like a first date?
I guess for the perspective of
Hang on, because they're about to pop in just a second. Because there's still like a little delay on their end, so that's why like the questions are longer.
okay,
So like it usually pops in afterwards.
A question should avoid asking. On your first date, avoid very personal questions. Ask questions like, what do you do after a hot day of work, or what kind of hobbies.
All right. Just a second.
this sounds
I don't know. I like to get personal off rip, just straight out the box. I like to ask the most personal thing. I mean, I feel like when you get past the things that you're afraid of, the silly stuff, when you can dive into really getting to know somebody.
Questions like that. What's your favorite comfort foods? Want to ask open-ended, not yes and no type questions when you're
Okay.
asking questions. Don't get too personal in the beginning. Save that. Just do some general questions.
All right. A couple other questions. Hang on a second. Because my phone keeps timing out. Who pays for the first date when you go on a date? Hang on, because we have to wait for it to come in on our part.
You have a great point there. My thing is, I think there's important questions to ask before you actually go on the first date. So during the week, when you meet that person, Monday through Friday, you should probably ask like some important questions so that when you go on that first date, it doesn't feel like an interrogation. You should be enjoying the moment. Go with the flow. It shouldn't feel like you're being interrogated by that person. So before you go on the first date, those questions that you feel like asking, that you feel are personal, you want to jump right into it, should be really asked before you go on that first date.
I feel like it's one of those. Any questions you ask someone, you should be completely and utterly comfortable with them asking you that question.
My thing is, if a person I think personally think the person asking for the date should be the person paying for the date.
I feel that
I'm here for it.
Old school. It's the man.
That's a whole different conversation because that one usually gets me going. I completely understand, chivalry and all that stuff. But the one thing that we've all said is we've sat here and we've seen cell phones turn from bricks to supercomputers in your pocket. You gotta adapt to change. And at the end of the day, when women are asking for that equality, you understand what I'm saying? I feel like at the end of the day, if you invite me out, you should feel him. You should. I'm not saying you're gonna pay, but you should have it in your head that, hey, you know what? I invited this person out from their comfortable ass house. They didn't have to pay for nothing. Why are they gonna come out of pocket for something that I wanted to do? So if I invite you out, and that's not even on a date, if I'm like, yo, Trey, let's go grab a drink, and Trey's like, yo, I'm broke. I'm like, I didn't ask you if you had money. I said, let's go grab a drink. Come on, get whatever you want. I wanted to drink, I wanted company, and let's be perfectly honest, I can't stand anyone else, so this is a win-win for both of us.
Facts.
I'm just saying. I agree. If I ask you out, I pay for it, regardless of the situation. It's not mine, though.
Because Trey will leave you high and dry, ready to pay for that bill too. I'll be sitting right there, I'm like, no, you invited me out. Like, I'm about to go about my business.
You know what? I'm glad you said that. I had a conversation. One of the things about this whole paying for the first date thing is I feel like if I invite somebody out, I need to be able to afford the habits or the lifestyle that they're used to living. You understand? So say you ate nothing but high-end food and like the best of the best. I'm not gonna invite you out knowing that all I can afford is McDonald's. You understand?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, because a lot of people do that. But here's my thing. A lot of people also feel like for a first date, we can't go to Olive Garden. We can't go to our Applebee's or TGI Fridays. We got to go someplace expensive. And my thing is, I'm not comfortable with shelling out $200-300 on a meal on a first date. And you might say, you know what, I'm good on you. I didn't like when you sneezed and said, excuse me, rather than something in Portuguese. And I'm like, well, what? Hold on. So I just spent $200 just for your company. This is feeling less like a date and more like prostitution. I'm just saying.
I definitely agree.
What the hell?
Hang on, we gotta wait for it to come in on ours. As soon as you get done talking, then it pops on.
That delay is crazy.
So the question, that's why vetting the person go on the first date is extremely important. If you're the person that likes to go to Olive Garden and you're dealing with someone who wants to go to a $200 meal restaurant, that's when you should say to yourself, this person isn't for me. It's not a good fit.
Yeah.
Well, no. What I'm saying is, I agree with you, but I also have a very strong feeling of I am not going to ask somebody out because even no matter how much I like that person, if I can't afford them to do things that they normally do without having me around, I don't have any place injecting myself into their life. I'm not, like I said, if all this person eats is this, and I know that's all they eat, and I still say, you know what, this is who I want, I don't feel like I'm okay to just come out and say, hey, let's go to, IHOP for our first date. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna I'm not gonna change what you were used to just to suit me. You understand?
True.
And I don't want anyone to do it for me. But at the same time, I also don't agree with you changing the way you normally eat just because it's a free meal now. Because the same people that are asking for $3, $4, $500 plates, a la carte plates, are the same people that on a regular basis are up at McDonald's or the corner store hitting up the bodegas or one of the chicken spots. Don't change your standard of dining just because somebody else is paying for it. And a lot of people will do that, and that's why I say, you know what, if you invited me out, you're paying for it, but I'm not gonna have you call me and say, hey, let's go to City Island, but you got this, right? And I'm like, yo, I was about to go to Wendy's. Like, I'm not trying to spend City Island cash.
All right, we got a couple more questions before we have to wrap things up. Could sex mess up everything while you're dating? And that's a question for the room.
It could. I mean, but anything could do anything.
Possibility. It's a possibility.
Just a question I thought. That's just a thought I had. Wait, they're about to come in. Hang on, we gotta wait for the rest of that to come in.
So that's one of the important questions to ask when you're dating. You have to find out the person's intentions, their purpose in dating. You want to be friends with benefits and you're both on the same page, then that's fine. But it's important to figure out what type of, there's different types of dating. So it's important to figure out your expectations align with the other person's expectations, because emotions and intimacy can really change the game in that dating process.
But you just have to have truthful conversation.
Transparent.
You got to be transparent in your conversation, and your dating is going to be what you want them to be. But understand that there is a difference dating and a relationship.
Okay. We just finished here, but yeah, okay, I can see that there's definitely a difference in between dating. I make sure when I'm dating, I make sure things are perfectly clear and out there on Front Street, what it is, what it isn't. What are the rules of engagement for shooting your shot?
Shoot your shot. Unless like you're shooting a shot and their boyfriend or wives and kids are around, or oppositely, don't try to shoot a shot when your wife is sitting, directly across from you with the kids, and you see a baddie walk in the door. That's just disrespectful for everybody.
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, that is bad for everybody.
And it's crazy because I've seen it happen.
Yeah, I've seen some bad things happen like that. I think I had another question. Hang on. I wonder why there's such a delay.
I don't know. I pulled this up. This is-
They didn't come in yet. Oh wait, maybe they didn't talk. Oh, what are some recommended? Oh, you did? Okay. What are some recommended questions that we should be asking while we're dating? Hang on, we just gotta wait for it to come in.
I mean, people are so afraid. So can you? We're old school. Can you define shooting your shot?
Oh, so us defining shooting your shot. So like when you're trying to like holler at a girl, or like like cat, not cat call, but like kind of like like how do I get the girl's number?
Let me try to. It's when you are attempting the initial introduction and attempting to get their contact information, or give them yours, and make that first initial impression so that they would want to talk to you again. Like approaching somebody, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. That's like shooting your shot. Hang on, just gotta wait for it to come in now. It's like the delay is getting longer and longer.
Yeah, I feel that way. Yeah.
That's strange though. Never had that happen before.
I'm not sure what's going on.
But you know what? I'm also hearing echo on my
I
side.
think you have to know what your purpose is. What is it looking for, and then your questions towards what you're looking for. You can waste time in a whole lot of questions. So tailor your questions to what your purpose is.
Definitely. I mean, I think one of the important questions to ask is, are you looking for something casual, or are you looking for a more serious relationship? That's an important question to ask. You should always ask that question when dating.
I definitely agree with that.
Yes. And on that note, guys, that's how we're going to end the segments. And this is our first show of acting, Act 1 of dating, and then there will be a couple other shows too within the same interest as well too. We'll definitely love to have you guys back on. Thank you guys for coming. Can you guys shout out your podcast, your names and links and platforms that we can reach you guys out on? hang on just a second. We just gotta wait for it to come in.
Got that?
There we go.